Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. We have the Polestar 2 sitting over here at the charging station. We are going to be performing our usual 0 to 100% DC fast charging test that we do on every EV. Let me explain how we actually run these tests. So I drove the car from about 30% state of charge down to 1% state of charge pretty aggressively. Interestingly, the guessometer range on this car, it shows you obviously how many miles it thinks you have remaining, shows in 5-mile increments, which is unlike any other EV, but very similar to Volvo combustion vehicles do the same thing. So if you have 95 miles of range, you don't know if you have 97 or like 87. Or 92. It'll go 95, 90, 85, 80. But once you get to 10 miles of projected range, then it shows you in 1-mile increments. So right now, let me explain how I'm running the battery down. We have 1% state of charge, but 0 miles of range. And this is actually really funny. So the Polestar doesn't have an emergency brake. There's no like separate button to put on the parking brake other than the parking function. So what I'm doing now is, normally what I've been doing is just leaving the car in neutral with the seatbelt attached, and then it obviously stays. However, we're on a slight downhill slope here. So the car kept rolling forwards, and because I want it to run all the way out to 0, I needed a way to hold the car. Well, thankfully, Polestar has one pedal driving. So if you don't have your foot on anything, it actually keeps the brakes on in drive, and you'll see the brake lights are on right now. And well, it seems a little sketchy, but it's just sitting there holding itself on the brakes. Once this ticks down to 0% state of charge is my normal procedure. We'll turn the car off. We have the heater running at full blast. That's why the windows are down, trying to pull some energy out. Then we're going to plug it into this Electrify America 350 kilowatt station. I believe Polestar says this car peaks at 150 kilowatts, but I've never done a curve on this or XC40 Recharge, and that's all we're assessing here. If you're interested in the full review, that either has been posted or will be posted soon on this channel. But today we are just talking about DC fast charging, this 78 kilowatt hour battery pack inside the Polestar 2. AC seats, heated seats going. Putting all the power draw on. We have all of our devices charging. Still shows 1%, and it's still holding the brakes on even though it's in drive. So, I mean, it does feel a little sketchy, but at the end of the day, even if it were to go wide open throttle, this thing has such a power limitation below 7% state of charge that it will barely accelerate because it's so dead. So even me, I might be able to catch up and run up to it. We've just kicked down to 0% state of charge, so let me hop in, put the car in park. Let's put the climate control to something reasonable, but we're actually gonna turn it off. We're gonna turn all the heated seats, cooled seats on both sides, heated steering wheel off, all the stuff. We're gonna turn headlights to off. We want no power draw while charging. The idea is every bit of juice delivered from the charger, I want to make it into the high voltage pack. Rear heated seats are off. Look, by doing this, I'm running you through all the features as well. Why do you even need to watch the review? Anyway, 0% state of charge, 0 miles indicated. Let's get our little tripod set up. Hopefully the video comes out well. We'll plug it in here to the CCS combo charger. This is a little bit awkward. This little cover doesn't really get out of the way. I would just rip that off on mine, but that's up to you. It looks like it does make a really nice seal naturally, so I don't think too much dirt would get in there. Let's get it charging. I am doing something you guys would have never imagined I would ever do in my entire life. I am cleaning my car with a really cool car washing solution from EV Wash. In the link in the description, you'll get 30% off your order using Out of Spec 30. This is a really cool washing system running around the side to tell you about it, because it's not just the stuff that's inside this bottle, it's how you refill it. Once this runs out, you take these biodegradable refill packs that are way less expensive than buying a whole new bottle, fill up your bottle. It's much more sustainable, much more easy on the wallet. And if you buy the full kit like this right here, it comes in this really nice carrying case that fits in the front trunk. It's now time to analyze the charging curve. So you saw temperatures were perfect. Weather conditions were great. We have the maxed out charger ready to go in the Polestar 2. Now, I do want to preface this with, in my research before and when the car first came out, I remember this having a couple different issues. One was cold weather DC charging, like to the point where even if ambient was down in the 70-degree Fahrenheit range and you didn't pre-warm the car, it was very sensitive to cold weather DC fast charging. I'm not sure how newer updates have handled this. The second thing that I remember from this car is it did not hold its peak very long, and I think we'll kind of see that here. So what do you say we start charging? It's going to shoot up. I'm just going to let you know because the first little bit is where everything happens because all the power is going into it. So I'll give you a little bit of a preview. Again, car is dead, chargers are being plugged in, and we're ready to rock and roll. So let's hit play and let's see. So 0% state of charge, boom, charger's plugged in, it's connecting, communicating, instantly up 50, 60, 70, 100 plus kilowatts right off the bat. That's awesome. 145 kilowatts basically from dead is perfect. You can see pack voltage is really high as well. 400 volts at 8%, amazing. 9%, still doing 150 kilowatts. This is awesome, exactly what I wanted to see. And then, whoa, as soon as we hit 11, 12, it drops down 130. 120, 118, forgive the screens moving around a little bit, 109 kilowatts, 105 kilowatts at 17%. This is not good. Why the fact this car cannot sustain peak current pretty deep into the pack is crazy. And I really think this is the main problem. Now we're at 104 kilowatts at 24%, 100 kilowatts at 25 on a big battery pack. Come on, that's not so good here. I really think this battery pack charging curve needs to be adapted. It's advertised as 150 kilowatt peak, but again, that's only going to happen if you plug in dead and charge it up to 8 or 9%. Now, some more tests I'd like to maybe do in the future are, let's try plugging in at 20%. Let's try plugging it in at 50%. Some battery packs can only accept peak current for a certain period of time. That's Mustang Mach-E style. I don't believe that's the case here. Now we're well under 100 kilowatts, even in the 40% range. So if you're going to road trip Polestar 2, you have to try to get to chargers as low as possible. The problem is when you run the battery pack all the way down, it kills your available acceleration to almost nothing. So I'm not so sure this is a great road tripping car based off of this charging curve. 50%, 85 kilowatts. Terrible. Model 3 long range, Model Y long range, 110 kilowatts at the same state of charge in a very similar size battery pack. Audi e-tron, bigger battery pack, but 150 kilowatts to 80%. That's sort of the gold standard in this 400 volt class of EVs. And this should be able to do it because it has such a high pack voltage. It doesn't need a lot of current. We're down into the 50 kilowatt range, 60. You can see it's jumping off these little ledges when we look at the charging curve. And what's happening is the car is requesting an amperage input, and then it falls off as it has to drop. And as pack voltage increases, the total power increases as well. You can see it's just pegged at 158 amps. Sometimes you'll see more amps going into the battery, sometimes a little bit less. This is mainly because of a power draw from the cooling system for the battery pack. It's cycling the AC unit, the glycol cooling pumps, etc. We've been charging 40 minutes. We're still only at 72%. Really, the mark of an okay charging EV is 30 minutes to 80% for me from dead. Anything better than that and quicker than that is awesome. Anything slower than that, well, for me, I'm not sure we can really consider it a real road trip car. You can see there's a little bit of a bug with the estimated range. This does get fixed later on, so it's not thinking we have 100 miles of range. 80% now. We're at 39 kilowatts. Took 46 minutes to get to 80%. Really not great here. And now to get to the end of the charging session, you'll see this thing really tapers hard. So it's, I don't know. You know, Polestar 2 is such an interesting car. It's so much fun to drive. It's really a great handling car. It looks amazing. And it's actually pretty efficient. I got 225 miles in my range test on this vehicle at 70 miles per hour. If you're interested in that, head to Inside EV's YouTube channel. You'll see it as one of the recent videos. 86%, 31 kilowatts, not terrible up top, but still just taking a while. It's going to be well over an hour until we reach a full charge here. And so I thought that was interesting. The other thing I found interesting was the DC fast charging cable cooling did not kick on the unit. And I thought it was a particular issue with our unit, but then a Mustang Mach-E pulled in and ID4 pulled in, and none of the cable cooling kicked on for those, and they all followed the normal charging curve. So I don't think that had an effect on this test at all, but I did think it was worth mentioning that, hey, you know, at least the cable cooling was not active, and we did plug in at low state of charge, and it did need a lot of current, which heats things up. We're finally passing 90% state of charge here, well over over an hour in. Normally the measure of a really good 0 to full charging curve, which you never do in the real world. You always do between, let's just say 10 and 70% and 10 and 80%, typically in real world driving. This is just to log the entire curve, these tests. But 0 to full, I like to see hour 15 minutes, somewhere in there seems pretty good. This is going to be well over an hour, 73 minutes in here, 93%. We just dropped to 8 kilowatts, and now it's just going to be basically just squeeching in little bits of energy until it's fully charged. So it was warm ambient. The cooling pumps were cycling on and off, which tells me the car was at the normal operating temperature that it wanted to be. Basically, it could cool itself down, and then it said, okay, I'm good, and shut off. It didn't run the entire time, so I don't think we had any thermal issues here. You can see our range is now 220 miles. The car usually showed about 230 miles on a full charge with my driving. I found that to be pretty accurate as well. So it's got the range, it's got the performance, it's got the styling, it's got the premium feel, it's got the specialness. It's a really cool car. People really do look at it and ask about it on the street. It's just the DC charging is not great. Now the AC charging is 48 amps, and you can adjust your AC charging limit throughout. Sorry for the screens going on and off. We actually had to keep hitting the brake pedal in the car and to keep hitting the screen on EA. So we're running back and forth from the screen to that screen, hitting brake pedals and getting the EA station off of its state of charge reading. Sometimes we met, actually everyone who rolled up to the station was talking to us at watching our channels, so sorry for that not being perfect. But now 4 kilowatts at 97%, you really can't complain about that. Tesla does the same thing. Here you're able to use so much of the battery pack with very little top and bottom buffers that you just have to lower your charge rate when you get up top. 450 pack volts right there. That's a really high voltage 400 volt class of vehicle. e-tron is just like this, and Mach-E is the exact opposite. Full charge Mach-E is like 380, I think, and what that means is when you pull up to a 50 kilowatt charging station that's limited at, let's just say 100 amps or 120 amps, you're going to get much more power for that 50 kilowatt station with the Polestar than you would with iPace or Mach-E as an example. So I do like the high voltage 400 volt packs. I'd love to see the charging curve massaged and adapted. I thought that the charging station route planning built into the Android system was good. I don't think it preconditions the car for DC chargers. At least I never got a notification that it was doing so. And I also noticed it can't do a trip that long. From my house in Colorado, it couldn't do Los Angeles, it couldn't do New York, but it could do Salt Lake and Kansas City. So I think that's fine for most people, but if you're going across the country, the car couldn't calculate that and you had to set waypoints along the way. Here we are again, just sitting at 4 kilowatts, 8 amps, 449 volts in the pack, taking a really long time to fully charge here. We are getting close to 2 hours, 116 minutes right now, just waiting to get that last bit of energy in there. And this is acceptable and fine, and you're never going to have to DC charge your car up to 100%, at least very few circumstances. So this more or less is just to complete the test properly. It's not really a real world usable. What you really want to be looking at is that 10 to 80% range. You can see charging just cut off there. And it was up just about 2 hours even. I think 2 hours, 1 minute, something like this is when it actually completely ended. Like I'd mentioned, you really want to take a look at that 10 to 80% range. And if you look there, you're really not going to get 150 kilowatt charging. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to pull in at 0% state of charge. It's hard to even drive this car below 7% state of charge because it slows down so much. So I would say not false advertising, just not practical advertising, saying that this does 150 kilowatts. It certainly does, just for a very short period of time. If you've noticed the same or differing results with Polestar 2 in your charging test, please comment down below. Again, every test, this is not saying this is what it will be every time. There's environmental factors, there's software factors, there's charging station factors. Like I mentioned, no cable cooling kicked on here. It didn't for the other cars, but that was a unique situation that I hadn't noticed before. I also did try this test again, just so you know, and cable cooling did not kick on another unit, so I don't think it was a station issue. And gotta say, I love the Polestar. I really would consider buying one if it charged better. If this had even close to an e-tron charging curve, I would be all over this thing. It'd be amazing. It's got perfect range, great acceleration, great handling. just needs to DC fast charge better. So thanks so much for watching this video. Keep an eye on this channel. We are actually in Germany right now testing a whole bunch of EVs. You probably can't see outside is Munich, and beautiful place here, having a blast, seeing quite a few Polestars on the road. And we will catch you on the next video, maybe with the Volkswagen ID3. Bye-bye.